In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. Respected viewers and listeners of Mystical Islam, Assalamu alaikum. Dear friends, in today's video, we will share a truly extraordinary story filled with deep life lessons. It's a tale about arrogance, humility, and Allah's plan to teach us the value of kindness, gratitude, and humility. Why did a father marry his beloved daughter to a poor beggar? What led him to take such an extreme decision? And how did Allah's punishment transform the arrogant princess into a grateful and humble woman? The journey of this princess is nothing short of remarkable and will leave you reflecting on the beauty of Allah's wisdom. So, stay with us till the very end of this video to witness the complete transformation of a proud heart into one filled with faith and humility. Before we dive in, we humbly request you to subscribe to our channel, Mystical Islam, and click the bell icon so that you can stay updated with our upcoming videos full of wisdom and guidance. Let's begin without further delay. Once upon a time, in a distant kingdom, there was a mighty king. He had a single daughter, the apple of his eye, who was renowned for her extraordinary beauty. Yet her beauty and the luxuries surrounding her life had made her haughty and arrogant. She considered herself superior to everyone else, mocking and insulting anyone who dared to propose marriage to her. Her pride became unbearable when, one day, the king organized a grand feast, inviting suitors from across the land to seek her hand in marriage. These were no ordinary men. They were princes, nobles, and warriors of high rank and great achievements, but the princess insulted each one of them in turn. To a heavy-set prince, she laughed and called him a big dough ball. A tall and thin suitor became a walking stick, while a fair-skinned nobleman was ridiculed as a white mouse. Her mockery didn't stop there. When she came across a bearded king, she laughed so loudly that all the guests turned to look. "Look at him," she said. "He has planted a bush on his face." The king, her father, was enraged by her behavior. He could not believe the level of disrespect his daughter showed toward the guests. Humiliated and disappointed, he stood up in front of everyone and made a bold declaration. "If my daughter cannot respect noble suitors, then I shall teach her a lesson. I vow to marry her to the poorest man I find." The room fell silent. No one could believe what they had just heard. The guests departed, murmuring about the princess's behavior and the king's stern decision. Not long after, a wandering minstrel arrived near the palace. This beggar sang songs in the streets for a living, and his tattered clothes and humble demeanor were in stark contrast to the grandeur of the palace. The king summoned him and said, "You will marry my daughter." The beggar was taken aback, and the princess burst into tears, pleading with her father to reconsider. But the king's decision was final. The wedding took place, and the princess was sent away with her new husband. Gone were the luxuries of palace life. Her new home was a small, dilapidated hut with no servants to wait on her. She was expected to do all the chores herself, cooking, cleaning, and fetching water. At first, the princess refused to do anything, but hunger and necessity forced her to try. Her delicate hands, unaccustomed to hard labor, began to bleed from the work. Her husband often scolded her, saying, "You are utterly useless. You can't even make a simple meal or clean the house properly." Days turned into weeks, and the princess faced humiliation after humiliation. One day, her husband gave her some clay pots and told her to sell them in the market. Reluctantly, she stood in the market, her once beautiful face now streaked with tears. Passers-by, recognizing her as the former princess, whispered among themselves, some feeling pity, while others mocked her downfall. As if her humiliation wasn't enough, a soldier kicked her pots, shattering them. She returned home in tears, only to be scolded again by her husband. "Why would you set up your wares in the middle of the road?" he said. "You can't even do this right." Her husband eventually found her a job in the royal palace as a kitchen maid. Now, the once proud princess scrubbed pots and prepared meals for the very nobles she had once insulted. Each day was a painful reminder of her arrogance. One day, she overheard preparations for a grand royal wedding. Watching the festivities from the shadows, she was filled with regret. Tears streamed down her face as she remembered how she had mocked and insulted people who were now celebrating life in ways she could no longer imagine. As she left the palace, a nobleman stopped her. It was the same bearded king she had ridiculed. Terrified and ashamed, she tried to run, but he gently held her arm and said, "Do not fear. I am the same wandering minstrel you married. I am also the soldier who broke your pots. Everything you endured was a lesson for you to learn humility and gratitude. Your arrogance has been replaced with wisdom, and your heart has been transformed." The princess fell to her knees, weeping. The bearded king raised her up and said, "Today is our true wedding day. All this was a test to prepare you for this moment." She was taken back to the palace, dressed in royal attire, and married to the king in a grand ceremony. Her parents and all the nobles rejoiced. The once arrogant princess had become a model of humility and grace. Her story became a lesson for all, a reminder that arrogance can lead to downfall, but humility and gratitude can elevate us in the eyes of Allah. Dear friends, this story teaches us that life's trials are often Allah's way of guiding us back to Him. Let us end with a heartfelt dua. O Allah, the most merciful and the most wise, protect us from arrogance and pride. Fill our hearts with humility, gratitude, and kindness. Guide us to treat others with respect and to value the blessings you have bestowed upon us. Forgive us for our shortcomings and help us to walk on the straight path. O Allah, make us among those who earn your pleasure and never forget your mercy. Ameen. Thank you for staying with us through this beautiful story. If you found it inspiring, please like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to Mystical Islam. Remember to click the bell icon for updates on more stories filled with wisdom and guidance. Take care of yourself and those around you, especially those who have no one to care for them. Until next time, Allah Hafiz.